If you're waiting for a huge spike, for massive viral moments, you're looking at the wrong signal. Today, we want to talk about what momentum actually looks like, how you can have it, how you can even know when you have it. I'm an CJ. I'm a third generation. Over the course of the last incredibly wonderful privilege of being not just visible but valuable by helping you find, see, and do the things that you're meant to do in this world, and to have them be not just known by you, but seen by the world. And there are some very definite things that are a huge, gigantic, enormous. What other kind of words could I use to make sure that it's emphasized enough that it is ginormous? Kind of things that you absolutely can do. But you really need to understand how they work and what visibility really is, signal to be watching. Because the world has, and the marketers are the worst. And I'm one of them, so I'm one of myself in my whole industry, right? Marketers are just at telling you things that are either not true at all, or they're true if you have huge budgets, but budgets can't talk today. Or they, they don't really share with you all of it. Now, most of that isn't their fault. Okay, I need you to understand that most of these people are not lying to you. I'm going to say on purpose. I'm not sure that's the right word, but they're not doing it out of malice. They're doing it out of misunderstanding. The world has created this false reality where the viral moment, the explosion, the things like that are what matters. And the truth of the matter is that the one-on-one, each person at a time, the small wins, the small spikes, the individual connections are what really truly always have and always will work. And they're the things that you really should be celebrating. I mean, as many of you know, I've helped more than 5,000 authors become best-selling authors. We have a 100% success making books bestseller. And I tend to be a little pish-posh, whatever about bestseller. Not because everybody in the world's doing it, and not because of the misnomer that's out there that everybody's a bestseller these days. Because the truth of the matter is it's, right around 3-ish% or less that ever make it onto the bestseller list at all. And out of that, it's, 1 out of 100 essentially that makes it to number one. So it is really actually a significant kind of a situation, but it is also a launch strategy. It is something that if your SEO is set up right and your launch is done intentionally, now that's an important word, because intentional launch is different than, you just throw a book out there and say, hey, my book's out there, everybody get it. An intentional launch also is different from the, go get my book and then 6 months from now, pre-sale campaign. Oh man, don't even get me started on pre-sale campaigns. Anyway, that's a whole other can of worms, kettle of fish, whatever you want to eat, or you want the fish to eat, whichever way. It's important to understand what really is important. Those small moves. When you talk about a book or the 5,000 books that made it on the bestseller list, what I really like talking about is the books. Hey, Joseph, glad to have you here with us. Is the books like Carl Michel's that have been on the bestseller list for the last decade. Books like my 40th book, the remake of Bestsellers Only the Beginning, which, is sitting and holding very clearly at number 3 in its category. And you could add on top of or with that Willie's Never Stop Winning 2.0, which is staying in the top 50, and many different things. That's amazing. Those are cool things. And, that's part of the promotion that I'm doing specifically with those, to show you, not tell you what to do. But the ones that I really want to celebrate is things like Dawn's book. I love, that one may be in some respects the great. I'm good, Joseph. How are you? Um, Thank you, Rush. That's very nice of you to say. Um, you know, the reason why I think really Dawn's book might be a better celebration than all of the number ones and all of that is because when Dawn and I started working together on her book, her book was in the 9,000s. In its category, it was 9,000 and something, which means it was barely ranking. Because if you get over 10,000, it doesn't list at all. Okay. Um, and that's not in any way dissing it. It's just a reality of where the book was. I just looked at her ranking just a couple of minutes ago. It's in the 900s now. Now you may be like, well, 900s doesn't mean it's a bestseller. Okay, but that's not. I mean, that's like 10x growth. That's massive. That's the kind of stuff. Do I write books? Yeah, I have 40 books of myself that I've done, and I've worked with over 5,000 authors, Rush, helping them everywhere in the process, from writing to publishing to, because we're a marketing company more than anything, both marketing their books to bestseller, as well as all of the things that you need to do to continue marketing your book after the book comes out. I can feel the sneeze attack coming on, so we may end up getting to have our drinking game of how many times can Steve sneeze during a live today. We'll see if we get through it or not. It's important to understand what signal to really watch. That little move. If your book goes from, and let's not use a number that's in the top, let's not use a number that's in the bestseller rankings, okay, or even a huge jump like what Dawn's book did. Let's say your book is number 250, okay? If your book moves to 248, those are the wins you really want to celebrate, because that means you're moving in the right direction. Okay. If you go onto your Amazon and you look at your book and you sold a copy of your book this last week, you have personal life stories that absolutely need to be shared. If you want to go to askstevekid.com, askstevekidd.com, askstevekid.com, you can hop on my schedule, Rush. I'd be glad to talk to you. Jason, thanks for joining us. And Rush, I would really love to help you with your book, because absolutely what you do in this world matters and it needs to be shared. See, that's one of those big wins that we need to celebrate. Okay. Over 80% of the people in the world say they want to write a book. Less than 5% ever actually do it. Okay. And then less than 5% of that 5%. So if you were talking 100 people, there was about 4 million books that went out last year. But if you're talking 100 people, that means 5 of those, well, it's actually 3.5. So, let's just call it 4 of those people actually wrote a book. All 100 of them said they wanted to. 4 of them did. Okay, and technically it would be, if you're talking 100 people, 80% of that would be 80 people. And then if you talk 4% of 80, that would be actually more like 3. Okay, but, let's not get into advanced math right here on a live. Okay? You're talking about 4 people who, actually wrote the book. And then you're talking out of that 4, essentially less than 1 of them is ever going to make ranking. That's some huge stuff, Rush. Yeah, absolutely. Things that you really, really do want and need to put into print and share with the world. Again, if you go to askstevekid.com, askstevekid.com, I would love to talk to you about that and see what we can do, to get your book out there. It is those little wins. It's the you put it out there. It's that your book, made it on the bestseller list. If your book sells 41 copies, that is actually something to celebrate because the average book sells less than 40 copies in its lifetime. If your book sold 40 copies in a day, in a week, in a month, that would be a huge thing to celebrate. Okay? If you sell a copy of your book to somebody that isn't a friend or a family member, you ever sell one copy of your book to somebody that you don't know, that's a major win. You see, we look at the signals and we want to see the giant, enormous, huge wins. And those are fun. But the ones that really count are the subtle shifts. You're, like I said, your ranking going from 250 to 248. Because that's a signal of your increased recognition. Okay, it's not, and those of you that are on LinkedIn, and I know one of the places I'm live right now is LinkedIn. It's not the messages that you get. I got one this morning. The person was literally pitching me doing what I do for a living. And I replied back to them, and I'm like, did you even take a minute to look and see what I do? I'm not talking about those kind of messages that we all get spammed with when we're on LinkedIn. But I'm talking about, if you make a connection with a person, if you get somebody that reaches out and they genuinely would like to talk about what you're doing in the world and see if there's any synergies between you. And when you get on the phone, they actually want to do that. It isn't just some kind of sideways pitch to get you on the phone so they can sell you their stuff, but they really genuinely, that's a huge win. That's also a signal that your recognition is rising, that you made it somehow in the algorithms, and it's not somehow, there's actually a very specific how. But you made it so that you're being recognized and then suggested to people. The more that your impressions of things on, Amazon suggested list or things like that, those are your wins. And biggest one of all, the hugest one of all, is slow, steady, quiet consistency, showing up. The big win isn't, that we peaked out at somewhere over 12 or 15 people that were on live here a little bit ago. The big win is that now going on 7 or 8 months, I've gone live every day consistently, sharing with you the same thing, that you need clarity, consistency, and connection. You need to consistently be connecting in a clear way exactly who you are, exactly the people that you're meant to serve. Those are the wins. And when we consistently show up with a clear signal, really, with a clear message, when we're doing it repeatedly and ongoingly, that normalizes it. And when we take consistency to the point where it's so normal that when we look at our schedule, we just know, hey, I'm going to do this thing. When we look at our schedule and go, yeah, at this time of the day is when I'm going to go for my walk. It should be as consistent of a win in you doing what you do in the world as, the fact that you go to bed at a certain time of the day. I was going to say at night, but I know there's some people that, they go to bed at 2:00 in the afternoon because they work, third shift or something like that. That you go to bed and that you wake up. That every day consistently you're going to have food. Those are subtle. Those are things that are so normal that it's not like, unless you've been in a place where you don't have food, then we absolutely massively celebrate any little morsel of food we can get. Absolutely. But many of those things, like, for example, the fact that you and I both just breathed in and breathed out, we didn't think about it. Even just taking that breath made me really take a breath. We didn't just think about it. We didn't have to actively go, okay, now breathe, now breathe, now breathe, now breathe. Think how, I mean, you'd get nothing done. You'd just be spending your whole time reminding your heart to beat and your lungs to breathe. It's so normal of a process that unless you feel your chest tighten or your breath catches or those kind of things, you don't even think about it. The panic comes when the normal stuff isn't showing up. And I want you to be so consistently visible in the world. And yes, absolutely, that does start with your book. Ongoingly having reviews, being, up for awards. I just put together, with my team last night, we just put together a program. Before I was always talking, our lowest was a $500 entry type of a thing. And, we were talking several $1,000 programs. We just put together a program for the people that really want to be consistent, but money is the issue. $100 a month. Now you're going to have to do it consistently. It's a little bit slower of a rise, but it's also a much more consistent of a rise than just, going, hey, this one time I'm going to put a couple $1,000 out and then, I probably won't be able to afford to do it until again next year. $100. We've got you. We have programs at every level that you're at, and we want to help you out. So DM the word review. Drop in the comments the word review. Let's get together. Let's talk. Because momentum whispers. Momentum whispers silently. Long before it ever speaks. Even often at a volume that if you're not really straining to pay attention to, that you'll ever even hear. Let's get you consistently visible and valuable because what you do in the world is absolutely, incredibly, mandatorily necessary. And thanks for doing it. I appreciate you. I hope that today finds you in a great place. I hope that you will join us again tomorrow where we talk about Trust Builder, that momentum creates trust, and that we need trust before we have sales. And then until we're together again tomorrow, I hope you're happy, safe, warm, and loved, and that you have a great week.